Jim, before we get out of here, a couple more questions and we'll get a song too. This next one was sent.
Oh, you want me to sing? So, what would you like me to sing?
No songs being requested, but questions being asked to be answered. Jim, our next question sent to CornyDriveThru at gmail.com is from Bill O'Brien. Considering the ratings they had and the attendances they were pulling when Cody Rhodes was with the company, do you think AEW could have maintained that level if Cody had stayed and kept his EVP spot, or do you think Tony Khan would have just continued to book it into the ground? So I guess the overall question is, if Cody had not left AEW, would it have made a major difference on AEW's business where they are today?
Would they still be kind of doing what they were doing instead of down to where they are now,
Right.
basically? It's hard to say because Cody, as we've come to realize in retrospect, we believe was miscast. It was not a good fit. He was in the wrestling business when everybody else was in the friend business, if you want to put it that way. You could tell by what we've heard. Everybody has said, oh, Cody was the one checking the production. Cody was the one talking to the TV truck, camera angles. We walk through this entrance. Cody had been to the big show, and we're not talking about Paul White there. And he knew how things were done on a major league level. And he wanted to, like Dusty, he had that creative bug, and he had that bug for wanting to do more than just be, one of the boys, whether it be the world champion or behind the scenes producer or whatever. He didn't fit on air because it was, for all the reasons we've talked about. So he wasn't drawing them a ton of money, but I think you can say that his influence behind the scenes would have been more important, whether it would have been a more professional television program, whether other talent that were more serious would have been focused on instead of because they were friends with somebody, whether CM Punk would have been able to coexist with the children, or whether what would have happened because Cody was a guy who could have been in the middle there. He was one of the boys, but also one of the office. He knew how to talk to big stars. He wasn't like Tony Khan, who was scared, or the Buckaroos who were wanting to fucking move their biggest star out because they didn't like him. He was business. So would he have been able to rectify that and save that? Now that's why they were probably laughing. Cody and Punk, they had a clip of them on this overseas tour on Twitter laughing about something. And they both turned out better because Punk was able to get away from there and get away from AEW early, where he could walk right into a top spot in the company when it's hotter than it's ever been. And he wouldn't have been able to do that if the Lollipop Guild hadn't been kind enough to fucking bury him and scare Tony and get him fired. And with Cody, one has to think that he realizes, my God, if I had not made this move, then I wouldn't have finished the story. I wouldn't be the biggest babyface on the planet. I wouldn't be making more money I've ever made in my life. And he's got to thank the Buckaroos for that, because what else could it have been that nobody ever spoke about? The differences in, how did they term it, philosophy or whatever? Well, there you go. So if Cody had stayed, he would have been more important to AEW behind the scenes. And they may be better off, but still with the children from Cucamonga and Tony Khan being rudderless, lost ball in high weeds, he could have only done so much. So he's definitely prospered by making this decision.
Yeah, I mean, the problem was Cody couldn't coexist over there because you need people who will play along with you. And at the same time, Cody was the most serious and the one who understood things the best. He also needed to be produced. Cody was not Cody left to his own devices. We got rambling promos. We got angles that went nowhere. I mean, the Anthony Ogogo feud, the Jade, as great as funny as the Jade debut is, that whole segment is a fucking train wreck. And it was a lot of that kind of stuff. But Cody was fighting a battle against everyone else there. The Bucks wanted to just do their own thing. They still just want to do their own thing. Cody...
Now they don't even come to work to do it.
Cody, if he had a bunch of people who kind of had the same idea about wrestling as him, it may have been different. But the problem was you had the Cody segment on the show, and then the very next segment was like a different company. Like it was, remember we used to call it the Codyverse. It was like there was a thing happening with Cody segments, and then you'd go to an Omega match, or then you'd go to the Bucks, or then you'd go to whatever. And it was like two different things. It was the best thing for Cody to leave. It was the best thing for WWE. Because where would they be right now? Not that they wouldn't be successful. I'm not saying that. But who would be the top babyface right now? It worked out perfectly. Cody being slotted to that spot right now worked perfectly, and it never would have worked that well in AEW. And I guess to answer the question, do you think AEW would be where they are today, give or take, if Cody had stayed?
I think they'd be better off than they are, but probably not by much, because again, for the same reason when we said, well, would Gail Kim be an addition to AEW? I don't know whether fucking Frank Gotch and goddamn Toots Mont could be an addition to, I mean, you know, what do you do? We do the best, bring Popeye the Sailor Man, the best sailor in the world, put him on the deck of the Titanic 20 minutes before the water comes up over the fucking edge. What do you...
and if Cody had stayed, he'd probably be fighting a lot more with Brandy right now. That's the other thing.
Either he may have had a fucking stroke.